How are you now? James here with just a little update for the Australian Mutual Fund Exchange. We're going to do a bit of a theme of the like a mutual fund of the week. Now, also, I'm just on holidays here. Last day I'm here, so a little bit uncouth at the moment. At least I'm shaving, and that's sort of how it goes. However, let's get straight into it. So I've been taking this time when I've been away just to drill down into a few things, seeing what's some big market moving. I always like to take this sort of time away to see what's moving markets, big ideas, big pictures, and big things like that. Bit of a focus on India because I've just seen it as more and more of an area that you'd want to be in. It's on the ascendancy with China being on the descendancy, growing, obviously a growing population. They're about to become more populous probably right now. They are more populous than China. A host of other reasons I've talked about before, billions being poured into it from companies who can't do business in China or can't do too much business in China, have too much exposure there, and want to shift some of their exposure over to India. So here's what we're going to do. One of this great. Now I'm just going to bring it in so that I'm inside there, and then shut that down. Okay, so I've done that. That's incredible. Now what you're seeing is my screen, and just sort of going through a really quick overview of the way that I go through my process of how I actually look at some of the things that I see. So this one popped up, extraordinary. This is the India stack. This is a big read in the Financial Times. I subscribe to the Financial Times. Everyone should. If you don't, you should. If you want to be a serious investor, then you need to at least get a sub to the FT. Now, this was really cool. So this came out yesterday. I think it dropped. Yeah, it did. Just talking about how much movement has happened in the Indian digital infrastructure space, biometric identities, banking people. I mean, this is obviously a huge number of people were unbanked when Prime Minister Modi got in. Huge push to be able to get people into the banking system. It means people can tap and go. People can use any means possible to be able to send money back home, send money where they need to, or be able to receive money from places. It's all just, it's extraordinary. But there is still an extraordinary direction to go in this area as well. Just talking about how much people are, look at this, so data costs going down, smartphone percentages going up, people with a smartphone going up hugely, bigly, I suppose as one of our old friends would have said, and just how much the push is going to be. I was blown away by the fact that in India, they've got facial scanning, iris scanning. Look at this, fingerprint, iris scans. I need a JP to certify documents here. If I to verify documents, they've got iris scans in India. The direction and the speed that this country has been coming along is just extraordinary, and it's all under this Aadhaar system that they've got there. Everyone's in the system, and it's moving along just extraordinarily well. So that's where that's going. Now, look, not to go into it too difficultly, but it's just to say, there's a long way going. I really love this situation here as well. Huge number, 80%. Google Pay and PhonePe, which is the Walmart product, account for over 80% of the UPI, which is sort of this infrastructure system, the payment system that they've got, the universal payment system that they have in India. So it's a long way ahead for it. You just have to take my word on this, and there's a long way to go in this as well. Stuff like this doesn't go backwards. Back to me. Did that work? Yeah, I hope so. So extraordinary just how far that's got to go. So we had a bit of a look. Now, this is where this is very cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch that back down again, and I don't need that to be up. Unbelievable. Now, here we are in the Australian Mutual Funds Exchange, amfex.com, having a look around some of the popular funds and funds that we like, and see what funds that we like. So we have a click on all funds. Now, it's going to be very difficult for us to thin out and see exactly what sort of a fund we want on this one. Now, what I did is I did a bit of a Google search, and I found that the Tata Digital Infrastructure Fund, Digital India Fund, is on here. Now, I could have found this a different way, but that's it. But I just looked for an India Digital Fund, and I managed to find this one, which is great. I also then went in to my screens, and I put it on my watch list. Now, this would be a great, and I'm looking at this going, this is an amazing mutual fund to invest in. I'd be really keen to get exposure to it. I think that it's going to continue to go up. All general advice, obviously, but I think that it's probably got more upside than downside over the coming year, over the coming 2 years, or at least over the coming months, with the amount of movement that's going on in this space. However, look at this. Now, this is amazing. It's really difficult to get a simple chart up for how a managed fund is going. It's really difficult just to do a Google search and actually find really quick and easy information for what it is that you need. If there's one reason to just get a login to amfex.com, it's so that you can just see the underlying holdings, the underlying risks, the underlying everything and details that's on there. Make an investment then after that point with a bit more guidance for what it is that you need to know. So this is the Tata Digital India. I've got my light in the way here. Digital India Fund. This is a growth fund. It has a higher risk, and as you can see through the chart, and I'll pull it back to a year old, what has happened, and this is amazing, the number of times that this has happened in a fund of mine, where as soon as you start looking at it, activity starts to happen. Something happens, I don't know, I've just got it's either a curse on me or a blessing, I don't know which one it is, but either way, things happen, I start to look at it, because usually I'm sort of looking at things and people already know about them. I want to try and get onto a trend, and the trend has already happened. Usually, the stock has already moved in an upwards direction. This time it has not. So look at this. So this fund has, it's moved down pretty dramatically over the last, month. And why? Why is that? Simple search. They've been downgraded. The biggest holding, actually, we'll go back to the managed fund screen here. Have a look at the holdings, right? You've got Infosys, you've got Tata Consultancy Services, big Chinese wall between those two things, I assume, and a whole bunch of other ones that are on there. So you can see the holdings that they've got in this mutual fund. Infosys is the biggest by it's 23% held, and they've got an 18% holding on Tata. So awesome. What do we do with that? So if it's come off heaps, then you check the biggest holdings, find out what's going on, right? So let's just dig into it and find out. First off, you've got Rishi Sunak's wife, Akshata Murthy. She's done about £49 million just in that downgrade that's come in. The reason for the downgrade is that a couple of big banks have listened to the guidance from the company, seen that maybe the future is a little bit rocky that they've put out. So that's interesting. Let's have a bit of a drill into it here and see exactly how bad it is. So why is the Infosys stock is downgraded? JP Morgan and a couple of other big places have cut their price target by 20% from 1,200 rupee to 1,500. So it's uninspiring commentary, ambiguous guidance. This is all Google search. The amount of stuff that you just get from Google just to find out the bits and pieces of it is incredible. You don't necessarily need to see the underlying research. That's a whole different level of people. For this one, you just need to know what the gist is, get the numbers down, see if that's the flow, and see if what's been priced in and what's not been priced in. Because trust me, you're not in front of any of the amazing news in the market. The big money has already taken big positions in what it is that they want to do. They've already moved. The market has already moved. What you're trying to do is now capture, if you think that it's a value play, or if you think that it's been overdone. Those are the areas that you want to look at. So if I think that this has been overdone, or if I think that yes, you know what, that's been repriced, it's come down and it's found its level now. So now I'm just looking at it, just going, okay, this is now the Financial Times. So I go to the Financial Times, I look at the stock, individual area of the stock. Now I'm just doing this as an example. I would drill down into each stock and see if there's any changes. I'd also check my own research on this stuff as well. That's the things that I get. But this is the Financial Times. They've still got a consensus recommendation of 14 analysts. It's covered by a lot of analysts, which is great. Not a single analyst has a sell recommendation on the stock. More analysts have it underperformed, but 14 analysts still have a buy recommendation and 12 have an outperform recommendation. If you look at the share price forecast, and this is right, this isn't necessarily a buy recommendation, but it's a share price forecast that's on here. It's pretty high. So the high end of the range is for it to be a 55% increase. At the medium range for the share price forecast in 12 months is going to be 24% increase. Their dividends are still growing. Earnings are still growing. They've got an average growth rate, which is fantastic. Revenue history, it's all pretty fantastic. If you ever look at financials, I can't pull up margins or anything like that. I'm big on margins, but that's it. Look, it's got an operating margin of 21%. That's blow your head, right? That's it. That's extraordinary. I've got no problem with that. So, and you sort of look at this. Tata Consultancy got dragged down with this one as well. Usually one thing brings two because they're in the same area and they come down together. So you can sort of see the idea that I'm looking at here. And then here you go. This is just my test account that I use for bits and pieces. Let's see. We don't need to worry about for the purposes of this. Don't worry about alpha or beta or anything like that. But look, and that's it. From there, there's the minimum investment. Aussie dollars, about $2,500, and that's what you need to put in. You put that in, you hit the invest button. That's how it goes. Look, so I'm just going to pull myself back up again now. That's a way that I would have a really quick glance at a mutual fund to be able to see if it was a value play or not. I look at this one, this digital play, and I think, you know what, there's still a huge movement and huge momentum in the Indian digital space. People buying and selling stuff on their phone, people buying, receiving money, small monetary items. People, the idea was someone who's, I think he was a fruit salesman, and he's receiving small amounts just through his Apple Pay phone. People that just tap and go through there. That was something that I couldn't even imagine happening in India a few years ago. Now, bang, here it is. It's got a huge way to go. So it's little bits and pieces like that. You can't really get access to that mutual fund anywhere else except through doing it this way, if you're from outside India. So if you think that more money is going to flow into the Indian digital space and you think that that's going to help the big companies that are involved in it, then yeah, it's probably a reasonable investment that you could make. It's definitely got the best chance of, it's got a better, I believe, in my view, it has a better chance of upside than it does of continuing down, because I think that once the downgrade is in, it's done. And that seems to have been where the big banks have played it. So, do that as you will. I'll be back in my suit and tie next week, and we're going to be doing this every week, and just to have a bit of a look at some of the funds that are interesting for people to get involved in, and how to actually do it and how to look it up on the screen. So anyway, I thought that's a great introduction to the Australian Mutual Funds Exchange. Just straight off the top of my head, I just thought that I'd look at something and just go through a really quick process of how I look at things. Anyway, if you've got any questions, please let me know. amfex.com. My name is James Whelan, and it's been a real pleasure talking to you. I'll talk to you later back in Sydney. Bye.